I was sitting alone in the doctor's waiting room, the air heavy with silence except for the ticking clock on the wall and the soft murmur of others around me. My hands, shaking slightly, rested on my lap as I tried to keep my mind from wandering to the overwhelming grief that had become my constant companion. It had been 6 months since David, my husband of 42 years, passed away suddenly. One moment we were sharing breakfast, the next, he was gone. I remember the last words he said to me that morning, just before he kissed me on the forehead and headed out the door. He said, "I love you, my love." Those were the last words I ever heard from him. Since then, everything felt like a blur. The mornings were the hardest. Waking up to an empty house, sitting at our breakfast table with no one to talk to, the silence echoing louder than any words. I tried to hold it together for myself, for Emma, my only daughter, but it wasn't easy. I'd lost my partner, the man who stood by me through everything, and now I was left with the heavy weight of grief, struggling to keep my life together. Emma had been around more often, or at least I thought she had been. She visited regularly, helped me with errands, and even suggested I go see a doctor for a checkup. "You need to take care of yourself now that you're alone, Mom," she'd said, her voice filled with concern. But something about her had changed. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I felt distant from her, like we were no longer the same mother and daughter. I pulled out my phone to distract myself from the thoughts racing in my head. The screen lit up with a notification. Emma was calling. My heart skipped a beat. It had been a while since we talked. I quickly answered, eager to hear her voice. But as soon as she spoke, I could sense the coldness in her tone. "Mom, we're leaving for Europe tomorrow. I sold your lake house and your car. We needed the money. Bye," Emma said flatly, and the line went dead. My heart stopped. I sat there in stunned silence, the phone still pressed to my ear, her words echoing in my head. She sold the lake house, the place where David and I had spent so many summers, so many holidays, so many years building memories. And the car, David's old sedan, the one that he had cherished, the last thing he had ever loved so dearly, was gone, sold. Everything I had left of David was gone, and my own daughter had done this without even consulting me. Anger surged through me, a hot wave of betrayal. But then something strange happened. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. Instead, I felt a strange calmness wash over me. I sat there, still, surrounded by strangers in the waiting room, as my thoughts began to clear. I realized something Emma didn't know. I wasn't helpless. I wasn't weak. She thought she had taken everything from me, but she had no idea what I was about to discover. It wasn't just about the house or the car. It wasn't even about the betrayal. No, it was about something far more profound. Something David had left behind for me. A secret he had kept from both of us, and I was about to uncover it. I sat there, a quiet resolve settling inside me. Emma thought she had left me with nothing, but she was about to learn how wrong she was. The truth was waiting for me at home, and when I found it, everything would change. I spent the rest of the day in a haze, my mind racing, replaying the phone call with Emma over and over again. The coldness in her voice, the finality of her words, it all felt like a punch to the gut. She sold the lake house, the one place that meant everything to David and I. She sold the car, the last piece of him I had left, and I was sitting here feeling like I had been discarded. But then, as I walked through the house that night, a strange sense of clarity washed over me. Emma thought she had taken everything. She thought I had nothing left, but I knew she was wrong. 3 days before David passed away, he had handed me a manila envelope. His eyes had been soft, his voice steady, as he told me, "Sarah, put this in the drawer of your dresser. If something happens to me, open it when you're ready, but only when you feel ready." I put it away, tucked it into the back of my mind along with all of the other things I needed to do after his death. Funeral plans, paperwork, trying to figure out how to go on without him. But I never once thought to open it, never thought that there might be something waiting for me inside that could change everything. As the days passed, I buried myself in grief, in the feeling of loss, and in trying to maintain some sense of normalcy. I wasn't ready to confront what was in that envelope, but tonight I knew I had to. Something deep inside me was telling me that it was time. I walked into the bedroom, my hands trembling, as I opened the drawer. There it was, the manila envelope, still where David had left it. My heart raced as I pulled it out, running my fingers over the smooth paper and feeling its weight in my hands. I hesitated for a moment, wondering what was inside. A part of me wasn't sure I was ready for whatever it was, but I couldn't wait any longer. I sat down on the bed, took a deep breath, and opened the envelope. Inside were several papers, legal documents, deeds to properties, and a letter. The letter was in David's neat, familiar handwriting, and as I began to read, I felt a wave of disbelief wash over me. "Sarah," the letter began, "if you are reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. Forgive me for keeping this from you, but I wanted to spare you the worry. Over the years, I've invested our savings in properties and businesses. We don't just have the lake house. We have 6 other properties, including the apartment building where Emma and Greg live. You're richer than you ever knew, Sarah. But I didn't want you to worry about money. I wanted you to love me for who I am, not for what I have." My heart stopped. David had been investing in properties all these years, secretly, quietly, with no fuss. There was an apartment building, a downtown condo, a motel by the beach, and several other properties I hadn't known about. I was stunned. I never imagined David had been building wealth like this behind my back. Never imagined we had this kind of security. I felt a mixture of shock and awe, as though the floor had just dropped out beneath me. But the most shocking part, I was the sole heir. Emma had no idea. She had sold everything, believing I had nothing left, but in reality, I had more than I could ever imagine. I wiped away tears, trying to process the enormity of it all. The betrayal stung, yes, but the grief I had been living with for the past 6 months suddenly felt a little less heavy. David had loved me enough to make sure I was taken care of, even after he was gone. And Emma, in her desperation, had no idea what she had done. I looked down at the deeds, the bank statements, the shares in companies I had never known about. My mind raced with possibilities. I wasn't just the widow anymore. I wasn't just the woman Emma thought I could walk all over. I was someone with a future, with options. But what should I do with all of this? I wasn't ready to confront Emma just yet. She needed to feel the consequences of her actions. She needed to understand what she had done. I would take my time, slowly reclaiming what was rightfully mine, but I wouldn't let her know just yet. Not until she learned the real meaning of responsibility. Not until she realized the true value of what she had taken from me. The house was silent now, the weight of David's secret settling in. I wasn't sure what came next, but I knew I had a choice. I could either let Emma get away with this, or I could teach her a lesson she'd never forget. Stay tuned as Sarah takes action and everything comes to a head. Will Emma face the consequences of her betrayal? And how will Sarah reclaim what's rightfully hers? The days after my discovery were filled with an unsettling quiet, and my mind raced with all the possibilities. I could feel Emma's absence. She hadn't reached out since the phone call, and I was sure she believed I had nothing left. I didn't even feel the need to correct her. The truth, however, was far more complicated than she could ever imagine. Emma had taken everything for granted: our home, our memories, and now it was time for her to realize the full weight of her actions. I spent my days carefully considering my next steps. What did I really want to do? I had the power to undo everything, to reclaim the properties and the money Emma thought was gone forever. But it wasn't about the money. It never had been. It was about the lesson she needed to learn. She needed to understand the consequences of treating me like I was disposable, of taking everything without a second thought. A week passed, and I kept to myself, allowing Emma the space to think, or perhaps to worry. I couldn't be sure what she was feeling, but I had a sense she'd reach out again soon. And she did, on a quiet Wednesday afternoon. "Mom, I need to talk to you." Emma's voice was softer this time, a little less confident. I could hear the strain in her tone. I said, "Come over. We can talk." She arrived a few hours later, looking disheveled and exhausted. Her eyes were tired, and there were bags under them. Emma looked like someone who had been running on empty for a while. She sat down across from me, her hands clasped tightly together in her lap. "Mom, I know I've made mistakes. I know I've hurt you," she began, her voice cracking. I didn't know what I was doing when I sold everything. I thought I could fix things by getting away, by doing something for myself. But now I see how wrong I was." Her words were heavy, but I wasn't sure how much of it was guilt or how much was desperation. I had seen this side of Emma before, the side that came around when things got difficult, when the reality of her actions became undeniable. But this time, I wasn't going to let her off the hook so easily. "Do you remember the phone call?" I asked, my voice steady. "Do you remember what you said to me, Emma? That you sold everything? That I was left with nothing? You didn't even give me the dignity of a conversation. You just took it all, and you didn't think twice." Her eyes filled with tears. She looked down, unable to meet my gaze. The weight of her actions seemed to be settling in, but I wasn't done yet. She needed to understand the true cost of what she had done. "Emma, what you don't realize is that you didn't just take the house, the car, or the things we had. You took my dignity, my pride. You treated me like I was nothing. And now, you're sitting here asking for forgiveness, but you need to understand that forgiveness isn't just given, it's earned." I paused, letting the words sink in. "You've done nothing to earn my forgiveness yet. You haven't faced the consequences of your actions, but you're about to. Because what you don't know, Emma, is that everything you thought you took from me is still mine. And soon, you'll learn what it means to lose it all." Her face paled as she absorbed the meaning behind my words. I could see the confusion in her eyes. She didn't understand yet, but she would. She needed to. "You think I have nothing left, but you don't realize that David has been securing our future for years. You sold our memories, but you didn't touch the wealth he left behind. The properties, the investments, the things that truly matter are still here, and they are mine. And I'm going to use that to teach you a lesson." Her eyes widened as the weight of my words finally landed. "What do you mean, Mom? You're not serious, are you?" I stood up, walking over to the drawer where I had kept the legal papers. Slowly, I pulled out the documents: deeds to properties, bank statements, shares in companies, and placed them in front of her. "Emma, this is what David left behind. This is what you thought you could take, but you can't. You'll never understand what it took for him to build all this. He did it for us, for me. But I'm going to teach you something you don't know. You don't take what isn't yours, and you certainly don't take from the people who love you." Emma stared at the papers, disbelief and realization slowly washing over her. "Mom, I I didn't know. I thought I was helping." "You weren't helping," I said sharply. "You were running away from your responsibilities. And now you're going to stay here and face the consequences of your actions. I won't fix this for you. Emma, you have to do it yourself. I've given you everything you need to succeed, but now you have to learn what it means to earn it." She didn't speak for a long time. The silence hung in the air, thick with tension. Then finally she spoke, her voice small and trembling. "I'm sorry, Mom. I was so selfish. I see now that I've ruined everything, but I'm going to fix it. I promise." I looked at her, seeing the vulnerability in her eyes. It wasn't the same Emma I had known. This was a different woman, one who had learned a painful but necessary lesson. And though the road ahead would be long and difficult, I knew she was ready to face it. "I'm not going to forgive you right away, Emma," I said quietly. "But I will help you. I'll help you rebuild, but only if you earn it. Only if you show me that you've learned the value of what you took for granted." Emma nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I will, Mom. I promise." I stood up, walking over to the window. I could see the city outside, people rushing by, living their lives, caught up in their own struggles. But for me, this moment, this decision, was a turning point. I wasn't just a widow anymore. I wasn't just a mother trying to survive. I was a woman who had taken back control of her life. And no one, not even Emma, could take that away from me. Stay tuned for the next, where Emma begins her journey toward redemption, and Sarah's quiet strength continues to guide them both toward a new future. The days that followed Emma's realization felt like a strange mix of relief and anticipation. She had finally seen the full extent of what she had done, and I knew that the road to redemption wasn't going to be easy for her. But it was a road she had to walk. It wasn't enough for her to apologize. She needed to rebuild and prove she could learn from her mistakes. I wasn't going to do that for her. She had to face the consequences of her actions and show me that she could earn back my trust and, more importantly, respect for herself. The morning after our conversation, Emma came to me with a different energy. It wasn't the same desperate, entitled daughter I had seen before. She was calmer now, but there was still a nervousness in her step. She wasn't sure what the future would hold, but she knew one thing: she couldn't keep running from her mistakes. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot about everything you said, about the house, the car, about everything I took from you. I know I can't fix what I did, but I want to start over. I want to do things right this time. I didn't say anything right away. I just watched her, taking in the new sense of determination that was slowly replacing the shame in her eyes. For the first time in a long time, Emma was speaking like someone who truly wanted to change. Mom, I've started looking for a job, something to do on my own. I'm not going to rely on anyone anymore. I don't want to live like this, constantly running away from my problems. I nodded, silently impressed. It was a start. I could see the sincerity in her eyes, but I also knew that it would take time for her to truly understand the depth of her actions. I think that's a good idea, I said quietly. But remember, Emma, it's not about the job or the money. It's about rebuilding your life with honesty and integrity. You're not just doing this for me, you're doing this for yourself. I'm proud of you for taking that first step. Over the next few weeks, Emma settled into a new routine. She found a part-time job at a local store, and I could see the difference in her already. She wasn't just showing up for work, she was showing up for herself. She worked hard, saved her money, and slowly started to regain her confidence. Every time she came home, I could see a little more of the old Emma, the one who had cared about others, the one who had once shared happy memories with David and I. I didn't ask her for updates, but she would share her progress with me. One evening, she sat down beside me, her face a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction. Mom, I did something today. I paid off my first debt, the credit card debt I'd been ignoring. I made the payment myself. I could see the pride in her eyes. It wasn't much, but it was a start. She was learning the value of hard work, of facing up to her responsibilities, no matter how uncomfortable. You should be proud of yourself, Emma, I said, my voice full of warmth. It's not about the money. It's about making things right. It's about taking responsibility for what you've done and moving forward. You're doing that. And that's all I can ask for. As time went on, Emma became increasingly independent. She didn't rely on me the way she had before. And even though I could have helped her, I stood back, allowing her to struggle and learn on her own. It was hard to watch at times, her navigating life's challenges without the cushion of money or shortcuts. But I knew it was necessary. She had to experience the full weight of her decisions. One day as we were sitting on the porch, Emma turned to me, her face serious. Mom, I've been thinking about the future. I want to go back to school. I've been looking at social work programs. I know I've made a mess of things, but I want to help others who are in situations like the one I was in. I don't want to just get by. I want to do something meaningful. I smiled, my heart swelling with pride. I think that's a wonderful idea, Emma. You've been through a lot, and now you have the chance to make a real difference in people's lives. But remember, it's not about fixing your past. It's about using what you've learned to help others, and that's the best kind of redemption. She nodded, her eyes brighter than I had seen them in months. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm getting there. And I'll keep working on it. I'll keep working on me. I believed her. Emma had come a long way from the girl who thought she could buy her way out of problems, from the daughter who discarded her family without a second thought. Now she was becoming the woman who understood that true wealth wasn't in material things. It was in relationships, in respect, and in the ability to face life's challenges with honesty and courage. As I watched her grow, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. It wasn't about the properties or the money. It was about our relationship, about seeing Emma finally take responsibility and become the woman she was meant to be. I had done my part. I had given her the tools to rebuild, and now it was up to her to carry those lessons forward. That evening, as we sat together on the porch, the sunset casting a soft glow over the horizon, Emma turned to me and said, "Thank you, Mom, for everything. I don't know where I'd be without you." I smiled, my heart full. "You're welcome, Emma, and I'm proud of you. Always have been. Just remember, the real gift is in learning from the past, not running from it. You've learned that, and that's all I could ever ask for." For the first time in months, I felt a sense of closure, of resolution. This wasn't just the end of Emma's journey, it was the beginning of a new chapter for both of us. And no matter where life took us next, I knew one thing. We had come out of the darkness together, stronger than before.